What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the good, the bad, and the glory. My name is Sam, and my co-host Nicole is not with us today, but we have some great, amazing guests, some personal friends of mine. Now, first up, you guys are very familiar with someone who is more than a friend to me, more like a lover.
Oh.
My wife.
Hey.
My wife Naomi, say hey to the people.
Heyo.
And joining us, we actually have our best friends
Oh my God.
in the whole wide world.
Our family.
Matt and Jan.
Yeah.
Matt T and Jan Thomas. So when you guys hear me talking about my best friend or my brother, that's Matt T who's here. When you guys hear me talking about my sister, like I explained before, it's like sister with no other kind of adjective next to it.
Oh my God.
Or no name attached to it.
That's me.
It's Jan, all right? It's Jan
me
here.
and only me.
Yes.
Do you remember, Sam, that time we were on the train and someone asked if we were siblings, like twins or something? Was it
I
twins
do remember
or just
that.
siblings? I don't know. I remember we were like, well, yeah, we might as well, because she was like, oh, we look alike.
Yeah, that's true. But yes, so I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. And first up, I'll switch it over to Matt T, who is a worship artist.
Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
All right, but you could speak more about yourself.
Or sing.
I'm gonna sing my intro.
introduction.
Hey, everybody. What if I sang it really bad? And everyone was like, this guy? Hi, everyone. My name is Matt T. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
I love Sam. And I am very secure in my masculinity to say that. Because this is my brother.
In front of his wife.
In front of my wife.
Yeah.
And I love Naomi.
Oh.
And above all, I love my wife. And I'm glad that I'm getting to do this episode with her. A little more about myself, I guess. I am, as Sam said, a worship artist. I'm a singer, songwriter. I think songwriter is like, I think when I was born, they were probably like, it's a boy and he's a songwriter. Because my whole life, I feel like that's just been who I am. And I love the Lord. I guess we'll discover more. I think the biggest thing that is relevant in this conversation is I am a newlywed. I guess, right? Technically, I don't know how long are you newlywed for?
Slightly newer than us, I guess.
Yeah, I guess newish,
About 3
newer.
weeks.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm a newish wed. My lovely wife just informed me that it's 1.5 years tomorrow. Yeah, we've been married for.
Ready for game.
We've been married for 1.5 years. Tuesday, February 13th. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's it.
All right, next up is Jan, who is a worship leader.
Yes.
In her own right. But go ahead, tell the people about yourself, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Jan. I'm Matt T's wife. I am an occupational therapist by day.
Cool. Now, what does that mean? Because I know when I first heard of that, I didn't know exactly
Yeah, no one ever
what
really
that
knows.
meant.
But I will let the people know, because people confuse occupational therapy with physical therapy.
Yeah.
So real quick difference. So OT, we work on helping people become independent with daily activities, whether it's bathing, feeding, dressing, being independent in the school environment. We see what the limitations are, and we work on that so that they can be independent. So we do, strengthening, work on balance, we work on sensory integration, different kind of things across the lifespan. So you can work from birth to elderly people. So
Gotcha.
Right now I work with ages 0 to 44 years old.
All right, cool. And most of your patients, they've been in accidents or been born
Some
a
were
certain
born,
way. And,
some were born with neuromuscular issues or orthopedic issues. Others, unfortunately, were born as typical children, but they got sick and it affects them the rest of their lives. So
wow.
Some of the stories are really sad, but there are some happy ones with my baby. Some of them actually recover. So that's nice. So yeah, that's what I do by day.
She's a superhero by day.
Yes.
And a worship leader. Yes. All the time.
Singing for you.
I was going to say on Sundays, but that is not true. Yeah, funny story. I am getting more confident in saying that I am a worship leader, singer / songwriter.
Yes.
A lot of people don't really know that unless they come to my church. And even with songwriting, only my close people know that. But anyways, fun fact. One time Nayo and I were driving somewhere. It was a long time ago. It was raining. So I had a shawl over my head and I was looking out the window. And I think, what did you ask me?
I said, would you ever put out an album? Or would you ever sing at a concert? Or sing background for an artist. I think that's what it was.
And like a old church mother.
With her shawl.
With my shawl on and my
Looking like
arms
Mother
crossed.
Mary.
I looked out the window. I said, I only sing for my Lord and Savior.
The Lord and Savior. Looking like Mother Mary.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But that is facts. Like I really do only sing for my Lord and Savior. Like I'm not one of those people where you'll see me singing at somebody's wedding or something like that. But I will sing at church.
You sing for Jesus.
She'll sing for the Lord.
Sing for
Sing
the
for
Lord.
the great wedding. Come on, somebody.
Come on. Hallelujah.
And I'm learning the guitar. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's awesome. I
Doing
just
a
started
great
last
job.
month.
What
Thank
I would
you.
say, I'd give it a couple months, and she's gonna be better than me on guitar.
Beast.
I would say.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's definitely going to be better than me. I mean,
Oh yeah, and I don't think we mentioned.
Technically.
I don't think we mentioned. Matt said that Jan will be better than him in a few months. Matt is also a multi-instrumentalist.
Yo,
Yes, yes.
That sounds
his
so
vocal
fancy.
cords are
like-
instrumental.
Yo, they really
They're gonna expect you to
That
play the
sounds
drums,
Right.
the bass.
The one instrument I never have even been able to sound like anywhere near competent in is the drums. I suck at the drums. But I could fake
never
my way
heard
through
you on a
guitars
drum.
now. Yeah, that's why. Because I'm really bad. No, what I will do is because I like, for example, drums. I can't play drums, so if I'm doing like a reference for a song or something, I'll beatbox the drums.
See?
And then like put effects on it so it sounds like a real drum set.
See, that's what you're doing. I hear.
Or like I'll
I hear
beatbox
that.
it and then try to like make it sound real, like a real drum sound.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And then I'm like, okay, now I'll
Yeah.
just make it sound like a real thing.
I was
That's
about to
it.
spit 16 bars over
Yo, I was about to say,
Yo.
Sam, why don't you spit something real quick?
Yo, Sam actually, I don't know if y'all know this Good Bad Glory crew, but Sam is a rapper.
Yes.
He is.
All right, cool. Well, we got to move along with the podcast. We got to keep it moving. All right. Oh Lord. So
Insider.
guys, we're not even going.
We gotta talk
We're
about
we're
Yes, we
limited
do.
right
No,
here.
no, no.
We got
Can
another
I-
show
You
right
mind if I
after
just
this.
share
Go ahead.
One thing real
Please,
quick.
baby.
Oh,
Tell that
Lord.
to
One
the
day-
people.
Everybody gather around a story time. One day this is before any of us were married, and we were chilling at Sam's house at that time. It was his place, our mom, and so we're in the basement. We were going through like videos. Was it
his Mac.
on your Mac, right?
Yep.
Videos on his
Old
Mac.
videos.
Just looking back, you know how you got the video recording application, whatever. So we're going through the videos, and there's a video of Sam singing. And he, at this point,
This is my personal private MacBook, by the way.
that is,
I just want to make that very clear.
yo, you lucky you did this before all the like leaks of like the iCloud stuff. Like this would have been bad. So he did a cover of Katy Perry's Firework, but the only part that any of us will never forget is the part where he does the high note. He
How
just,
old
like,
are you? 17.
Too old.
Too old for that.
Do it, babe.
too
What did
old.
he
He
do?
said, "Babe, you're a firework." He kept singing, and it was beautiful. And that was the moment we knew Sam loved us because he let us
Okay.
watch that video.
I definitely let them watch this video. I believe I got my MacBook in 2010, so I think
Yeah.
I was at least 20 years old.
Oh, wow. Can you insert an audio of you
No,
singing
I
this?
can, but I will not. I will not do that.
Guys, write in the comments that you want
Oh,
the
Lord.
audio
And
to be
hashtag
played.
release the song. Hashtag
Yes,
release the song.
hashtag.
No, that's
gosh,
locked
I'm in a
away in
cheater.
the vault. All right.
Firework.
I was, stretching myself. All right. I was
good.
trying to increase my
Good.
range.
Personally,
All right. Increase my
Finger in
other
the air.
talents. And I think I should also mention that whenever I talk about, I'm singing out with the group, it's with a group called Matt T and Home.
Woo!
And all the members of the group are all on this podcast, which is me, Matt, and Jan. Naomi is also a part.
I play the tambourine.
Wait,
Church mother.
I don't. I do the air tambourine.
Yeah, tambourine. She be killing. Well, all right, guys, we're going to get right into our episode. And this week is Valentine's Day. So, we're going to get into some special Valentine's Day love-themed segments and a love-themed glorious thought. But for right now, we're going to hop right into our current events. This past Friday, Elevation Church released a new project under the name of the Elevation Collective, which was titled Evidence. Now, what was... Because it's what? Sorry?
Because it's all around.
The evidence is all around. And I think the hope for this album is to be all around the gospel music industry. Because what's different about this album is that Elevation Worship is usually known as a more CCM type of worship band.
Right.
So they appeal more to people who enjoy more worship type music. Like I said before, CCM. But this album was produced by Israel Houghton, who we are very familiar with on this show. It also featured, let's not go there, it's Valentine's Day.
I got scared.
It's Valentine's Day. All right. Blessings to Mr. and Mrs. Houghton. But it features gospel artists such as Travis Green, Tasha Cobbs, The Walls Group, Kiera Sheard, the list goes on. Yeah. Israel himself was on there as well. Did I say Tasha Cobbs? Ty Tribbett, yes. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him as well.
Team. Yeah, twin brother.
The all-stars of gospel.
She said his twin brother.
Who's twin brother?
Your twin brother. Who's twin brother?
Yo, okay, this is sidebar, and if you need to cut it, you can cut it. But there's a video, a couple friend of ours, Jamie and Kimmy, shout out to Jamie and Kimmy, got married, and we were at their house watching the wedding video, and I guess there was like a kiss, and they like paused the video and zoomed in on Sam's face, and he looked mad shocked first of all. Like he didn't think
that's the first time you saw somebody kiss?
My virgin eyes were not prepared.
But on top of that, he looked just like Ty Tribbett in that video.
Man, y'all out here just giving all, my past secrets.
We really are.
On this podcast. But I thought it was pretty cool. This project was pretty dope. Just Elevation Church kind of releasing their old songs and having gospel artists take their spin on it. It was released this past Friday. And I took a listen. I have my own opinions about it. But what did you guys think? I think everyone here has taken a listen to the album.
Yeah.
What did y'all think?
I loved it. It made me so happy. Like, I feel like the climate for worship music is like in such a good place. I feel like there were, like, in the 90s there was Integrity Music, and they had a bunch of songs out, and then this guy, I don't know if you guys know Keith Staten or Staten, I don't know how you say it.
Yes, I know.
He released the In the House series where it was like Fred Hammond was like, let's take all these Integrity songs and like blackify them, and they had like show us your glory with like the drums in the back. And I remember hearing that and being like, yo, this guy is so dope, like these songs are so dope. And then like 2 years later hearing the original and be like, what? This is a remake. But like to see that it go from the glory in the house where it had to be like super blackified to seeing, and it was almost like it was a separate thing, to seeing now where it's like this is coming together. You have like Hillsong releasing a gospel version on their own, Elevation releasing this record. I feel like it's the unity coming together that makes you very happy.
Facts. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about it most. There's no separation. So I love that it's the same lyrics, the same exact message, but just that different sound. And I think that's beautiful that everyone can still connect within the same message, but catering to what someone may want to hear, So maybe one day you want to hear the CCM version, or the other day you want to hear the gospel version. I just love that there's that variety, and it just shows that that one message is for everyone, no matter what that sound is. It's for everyone, and it just brings this united front. It's not, this is, for this side versus this side. I just love the unity that it brings.
Yeah,
I would definitely agree. As someone who's not like crazy about like the gospel sounding like music or like genre. I would say I prefer like a more CCM-ish sound. I really did enjoy the album or the project, I guess. I would say that the one thing that always kind of stood out to me about like Stephen Furtick, because we are talking about Elevation Church, and that's the pastor of that church is Stephen Furtick, for everyone who doesn't know. One thing that always stood out to me is I feel like this was something he was like, yes, finally, I can put a gospel sound to like, he comes from that like, he comes from like a Baptist background, I think.
He was. Go ahead. I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, he was in a gospel choir like in his college years, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
And he was like the only white guy. He had a solo, like it was like this is not a game for him.
Yeah, I feel like he was just like, yes, this is what we need to do, and like they set out and they did it. I enjoyed it. My favorite song is "Unstoppable God" by Ty Tribbett.
Yeah,
I'm featuring Ty Tribbett.
Right?
Yeah, it's just so good. Yeah. It's so good.
It's dope.
And one thing I would say is that I think that recently Stephen Furtick has been on this like path of starting conversations. And I feel like this is what one of the things he wanted from this project. Like, let's start a conversation between like those who may have a more gospel sound with those who may have a CCM-ish sound. And let's kind of meet somewhere to have this conversation of music. And I don't know if everyone knows, and this is like a side tangent, but I say that he's on this path of starting a conversation because he recently put out a video with Charlemagne the God. Shout out to Charlemagne. He's my best friend. He's my best friend, Charlemagne. When you hear this, call me. But yeah, he put out a video with Charlemagne the God, and it was, if you guys haven't seen it, definitely should check it out. Really it was just pretty much them going back to their hometown, Monk's
Corner.
They're from the same place.
They're from the same place.
Oh,
and Charlemagne, they were just pretty much just talking about what their life experiences were growing up in that same small town.
Yeah, and they were born around the same time. They went to the same middle school.
Did they ever cross paths?
No, but they knew the same people.
Wow. Right. So like the person that introduced Stephen Furtick to Jesus in church was the same guy that Charlemagne wrote about in his book called Black Privilege. And in the book, he talks about how this kid, this white kid that he hung out with would be the reason why he got jumped and beat up all the time or whatever. And it turns out that same white kid that he used to hang out with was the same kid that brought Stephen Furtick to a youth service, which in turn allowed him to get saved, and now he's Pastor Stephen Furtick.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I appreciate Stephen Furtick. You guys know I have my like love-hate relationship with Carl Lentz. I've voiced that on the podcast a little bit. But Stephen Furtick, I feel like he is about trying to bridge this like gap of one side versus the other and trying to make it more like God-centered and trying to figure out like why is it that we can't hear the same message, or what is it that we're not connecting on, kind of thing. But that was my little side tangent on the project. But overall, I love the project and I love Stephen Furtick. Shout out to you.
Yeah, like I definitely loved it conceptually, like the idea of gospel artists coming in on some more sounds that were traditionally or previously sung in a more CCM kind of way, right. Taking a gospel spin on it. With that being said, I mentioned on this podcast, and like my wife just mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of the gospel sound. So there's certain things that I feel like I want to take a second listen to, because on my first listen, I was in a dollar van. Commuter van for anyone outside of the New York City area, a commuter van. $2. Musically, I wasn't like so super crazy about it. I knew some of the songs. Israel threw like a shout in there in one of the songs where I was just like, I felt like it could have been a better shout.
The with Kiki?
Was it that one?
The one where it
was like a kind of slow. I don't think it was the one coming. Yeah. I was like,
I love that part.
You like that? I wanted a more hype shout.
I think it's Kiki. Yeah.
It might be more Kiki.
Just came out of nowhere and was just like, yeah. I was like, what?
I know a majority of people really like that part where it kind of just stopped, and then Kiki just was like, nope, it ain't over. I personally love the Here As in Heaven with Tasha Cobbs.
Yeah.
I feel like her voice is just
amazing.
anointed.
Bruh.
And she's doing what she does best.
She's my best friend.
Being
too.
Hopping on a CCM song and bringing it to the gospel masses.
She's like, this ain't new. We've been doing this.
She was more experienced out of the bunch.
I don't know
That's
if you
why she
guys
went first.
know, they were all at Elevation Church, minus the Walls group
Yes.
and
And
Ty.
Ty, yeah.
And they, I mean, it's just so amazing to see, like, all these groups of people. I feel like, now, what I'm about to say, I'm sorry all for the New York artists that are in or listening, but I feel like we don't get that in New York. Like this whole, let's get together and just come together and worship. Like it's always like we're competing to some degree. Yeah. So I'm just kind of like, if they can do it, how many of these artists that are out here now that are like killing, you know what I mean? Or that can sing or just have this anointing over them that are not collectively trying to bring the anointing to the people. But that's just my 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 cents.
I think that's one of the things that made me appreciate this record. The fact that it was, I mean, obviously, you know, you have Israel producing it, so he has the kind of connections to the gospel industry and that almost legitimate, he's like legitimate on both sides, like primarily gospel or contemporary gospel churches. It's like, wow, Israel has these songs that are more contemporary worship, and you can appreciate that. But then, and he's the person you look to for those songs. Like, you know, a lot of churches when they sing Jesus at the Center, it's like, whoa, this is completely different than what we would sing. We're used to like Hezekiah Walker.
Right.
And on the other end, it's like, oh, we only sing Hillsong, but we'll sing, you know, Israel's version of, you know, Your Love Never Fails, because that makes us feel like we get a little more like urbanness out of the song.
Flavor.
A little more flavor, you know? So it's like he has that great spot right in the middle of the road. And I think because he has that connection, he's able to bring these people together. So I think that's some things that made it really powerful too.
For those who don't know, Israel is Matt's uncle.
He's my godfather, actually. He's my god uncle.
Godfather is
Godfather is
Godfather.
Literally, man, that guy, like he actually. So fun fact, I think the album I mentioned before, like the Worship in the House, I think he had some role to play in working with Keith Staten on those records, and apparently was supposed to be working on like a potential like revival record almost with Keith Staten like coming back out.
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Israel and Aaron Lindsay and William McDowell and a whole bunch of people. I don't think it ever, well, clearly it didn't end up happening. But
y'all couldn't see, but while Matt was saying that Israel was like a role model, like a godfather to him, Jan was shaking her head. No,
She was not here for it.
Look, every David needs his Bathsheba moment. Okay,
God.
all right, it happens.
Not my David.
I'm currently clutching my pearls, guys.
Maybe need is a strong word.
I don't need a Bathsheba. My wife is my. That's it, baby. You are my whatever David's wife's name, Micah. What's his wife? Whatever.
Nah, she was barren. He had many wives.
Yeah, maybe not her. You're my Bathsheba, baby.
Wait, I don't know.
You
Well,
don't
she
wanna-
was innocent in it all, right?
Yeah.
No, she was not innocent.
I mean, she was bathing on the roof, like
I mean,
everyone
if
does.
the king calls you to his chambers, what do you say?
She's a loyal.
What you gonna say
subject.
if somebody call you to their chambers?
If it's a king, I'm gonna say nah, bro.
Good one. And if
We're not
it's
doing
a
that.
queen,
Fire for that.
Yo, I can't.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The original "Take Me to the King," but anyway, you know, there's grace, there's grace, but
We
There is.
love you, Israel.
we do.
We appreciate you. You know, I think what one good thing to take from this is, no matter what, like, you know, when people, I'm gonna take it a little left. Follow me. When people talk about Tone / Anthony, whatever his last name
B-Slade.
is, / B-Slade
Make me over.
insert names here, right? When people talk about his life choices, I think, you know, it's fine. You're in the public eye, so people are gonna have their opinions. But I do not think it takes away from that whole out of the box record with all those amazing songs. Lord, make me over. All the songs he had before that, Personal Jesus, all the songs he had. I think they still have their place in, because at the end of the day, for me, Lord, Make Me Over was like, like, what's the word? catalyst in my spiritual walk. Like that was like the song of the whole time. So
It was the reason why all the mimes got gigs in churches.
Naomi single-handedly revived the mime ministry.
Single-handedly wrote checks for the mimes, bro. Single-handedly.
Bruh.
Shout outs to you, Tony.
That album came out and said, "Oh, get the face paint. It's time. Make me." But I think the same thing is true for Israel. I feel like, and even still, I feel like the way he went about this was the whole situation. We're not gonna rehash it because there's an episode on that. But the way he went about it, because it's his personal life, but he's in the public eye. I think he did it the right way, and I think he's still super duper anointed. And so we love you, Israel.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, we
anointed.
love you.
We love you. We do.
All I know,
we got jokes for days, but we do love you.
Unreal.
all I know is that his next album is gonna be fire. He's coming for everybody. Who all the naysayers, he's gonna drop the most fire album.
His wife
of
is
whenever it
gonna.
drops.
His wife is gonna sing in Spanish.
She just might.
She gonna say,
Yeah.
"We are sisters. We
Just
stick
might.
together.
Wait, is that a Cheetah Girl song?
Yes.
We make up women."
They did a worship video, not a worship video, but like
Oh,
an
Jesus.
Instagram singing Hosanna.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah, I think she did that song on her album. It was.
What was it?
It existed.
What
It happened.
was it?
No, it wasn't bad. It was cute.
Okay.
Okay.
Please cut this out.
Look,
We can't put any of this out,
ins.
please.
I love you.
We
Okay,
love
guys.
Yeah, we do
I
love
love
you.
you.
We
I
love you.
support you.
Very
Speaking
nice.
of the Elevation album, which we were talking
That is
about,
the
That's what we were talking about.
Yes.
you guys can definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I do hope it does spark more gospel CMM
Yeah.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
CMM.
for sure.
CMM.
CMM.
Temporary
Christian
musical money.
Christian melanin music. Okay,
Yes, I
That's
like
what it's
it.
gonna spark.
I'm a CMM artist.
Nobody saw this, but Matt's hand looked like he was lassoing.
I was doing the point, like the agreement
Oh
point.
God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
All right, cool. And that brings us to the end of our hot topics. We're going to move into some Valentine's Day themed segments here. And I'm going to pass it over to my Valentine, my wifey.
thank you.
I'd
Oh.
never say yes. No, I'm joking.
Go ahead, babe. Take us there.
Sorry. Well, since we're speaking or we were discussing a musical topic, I thought it would be a good idea if we all went around and said our all-time favorite love song.
Wow, all-time favorite.
All-time favorite.
Wow.
All-time favorite.
I'll start. So I have two.
Yeah.
I don't have one. I have two. One or my second. I'll start second to first. My second favorite all-time love song is called "Angel of Mine," not by Monica.
Got him.
Not by Monica, but by the Icarus account. It is such a beautiful song, and Sam actually sang it when he asked me to be his wife. So one of my favorite all-time favorites. Sam will tell you anytime it comes on in the car, I will cry and bawl my eyes out. Favorite song all time. My first favorite all-time favorite love songs is actually an original by my lovely husband called "Everything," which was our first dance. It was the song he wrote for our first dance when we got married, and it is my all-time favorite song. And fun fact, it was sang by my brother Matt T, all-time favorite artist, all-time favorite song, all-time favorite writer, sung by my all-time favorite singer-songwriter.
Oh.
So my all-time favorite of favorites of favorites.
Of all the favorites.
Of all the favorites. Yeah, so those are my two all-time favorite love songs.
Wow. Amazing choice there at the end. Amazing.
Okay, so I have two also. The first one is actually, I feel like more recent. It's by PJ Morton, When We First Began. I love that.
Bruh.
Oh my God, I love that song.
Sing it,
just-
Jan.
No. It just, no. Don't do it justice. You gotta look it up. It's just the music makes you feel so good, and the words are just like so beautiful. It just reminds you to love your partner like when you first began. Sometimes you can forget, you know?
Yes.
With life being so busy, it's just, I just love it. Yeah, so that's that song. But then the second song, which I love, Matt wrote me the song called Mortal Man. Was it called Mortal Man? I don't remember the title.
I think the actual title was Message to an Angel, which I never say in the song. So I can see why you would think it's Mortal Man. But it's Message to an Angel.
Well, it now has 2 titles.
Message to an Angel, parentheses, Mortal Man.
He wrote it for me before we were engaged. It was like when we were dating.
I think it was actually a Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's so precious.
He did it at Brooklyn College. He did a whole video.
I snuck into. Well, I probably shouldn't say this.
You probably should not. We don't want you to.
My husband's a
Don't
thug.
do this, guys. Don't do
He's
this.
a
But
thug.
I snuck into Brooklyn College and found a piano and recorded this video.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And we actually, someone sang it at our wedding day.
When you're walking down the aisle.
Was it Kadeem?
Kadeem Nichols.
He
Shout out to
killed it.
Kadeem.
Shout out to Kadeem.
That is my dude, bro.
Awesome.
Matt T, your
Yes.
all-time favorite love song?
So I didn't know it was all time, so I just changed my answer. But so I guess
Okay.
in
That's
keeping with the
cheating.
trend, I'm gonna do 2. No, 'cause I thought it was just favorite, like at the moment, like flavor of the month kind of thing. So my flavor of the month, it's not even really a new song. It's fairly new. Xavier Omar, Blind Man. Have you guys heard that song?
Nah, I never heard of
that
it.
joint.
Bruh, you have definitely heard the song. And I'm gonna leave that there. So this song, Blind Man by Xavier Omar.
Can you sing it?
Can I sing it?
Yeah.
What is the chorus? Oh, well, the chorus just goes, dang.
It's an interesting song to sing.
Right, it's a weird song to sing,
How
but the part you can sing goes, you so,
Beautiful girl.
yeah, blind man can love you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well.
Beauty in your soul. So I like it because it's like a very well written song. Just because he's talking about like this girl's so beautiful, blah 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 in the verse, but he's talking about her inner beauty, and he's like, "You're so beautiful," and then in the pre-chorus he says like something. You're so beautiful with my eyes open. So even like you're beautiful physically, but you're also beautiful on the inside.
Hashtag
Yes.
deep.
And that's a deep song, man. It's a deep pop song, which is like what? Shout out to Xavier Omar.
It's
Bruh,
very deep.
Holla
We
at
love
me.
you,
I think
Xavier.
he's
At
a,
Psalmist King. Just
he used to be
DM
a
me.
Christian artist, but he decided to go full R&B. Yeah.
Bro, okay,
He said
his
both the
name.
Lord.
Definitely
He said
DM me,
both
bro.
the Lord.
He said both. Okay, we'll have a talk, an apologetics conversation, but we could also talk about some music. But so that song is my favorite, like flavor of the month. And then my all-time, well, I have 2 because my all-time favorites are between my 2 all-time favorite artists, Stevie Wonder, which I think is like at number 1, like he just hedges out number 2. So the Stevie Wonder song is As.
Ooh, you cursed.
Really?
Yes, I love that song.
I love that song. I love Stevie Wonder. I'm wearing a Stevie Wonder shirt that I got when I saw him on tour right now.
I
He would
gonna
love
say
to see
R.I.P.,
you
but
in
he's
that.
not dead. He's
Repent
not. He's
for
not.
that.
I'm so sorry, Steve.
Cancel that word in Jesus' name.
so
He's
Y'all
living
missed my
forever.
joke. That was funny.
What you said?
I said he would love to see you in that.
Oh my God.
Wow. No, he's blind. He's not deaf. One day he'll hear
Oh
this.
my, Xavier Omar, Blind Man, and Stevie Wonder.
Oh
my gosh.
Bombs blown.
Sidebar, my wife says bombs blown.
Oh
not
my
mind blown.
God. Stop. It's blowing me up.
That laugh
You
is
just
really
said it though. Okay, so bombs blown.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my like. I think that's my number 1, and then my like very close number 2 favorite artist is Billy Joel, and so I love Billy Joel's "Just the Way You Are." Like I feel like that's like
Sing it
the
for me?
best.
I don't know that.
Dang, all these songs are hard to sing except for Ads, but actually that's
Stop
hard to sing too.
cursing on the podcast.
But anyway, it goes, don't go changing to try and please me.
Yes, I do know that
Never
song. I
wanna
promise.
wait.
Seriously, Naomi?
Bible. I know that song.
I just want someone that I can
Just
talk
the
to.
way you are.
Wow,
When
bro.
you smile.
Yo, Matt was singing so
Incorrect.
intensely. He was singing
I was
so
feeling it in my
intensely.
corazon. No, but yeah, I want you just the way you are. I love that song. So that's, I guess those are my top 3. Xavier Omar, Stevie Wonder, and well,
Billy Joel.
not the artist, but Blind Man, As, and Just the Way You Are.
Cool.
Cool. As for me,
In your house.
and my
He's
house,
gonna stick to the rules.
serve
He's probably gonna do one. Are you gonna do one?
I also didn't realize this was all
time,
time
yeah,
love
yeah.
songs. So I'm just gonna do with what I could think of right now. And one of my favorite love songs is one that actually makes me think of my wife. That we were first together. And you guys also know on this podcast that I am a full-fledged believer.
Yes.
Oh
and,
my God.
Everyone knows that.
There's this song called Fall by Justin Bieber.
Oh my God, I love.
Fall, have your way.
Okay.
Have your way.
Similar.
They're
Changing in the spirit.
Justin Bieber will actually be singing that on Evidence 2.
Right.
He'll be singing that song. But
Shout out to the Belonging Co.
Yeah, I just really when I first heard that, I am not like a love song kind of guy, but I heard that joint and I was just like, yo.
How does that go again?
How does that song? It starts off with the 15-year-old Justin Bieber. Let me tell you a story about a girl and a boy. Fell in love with his best friend. I'm not gonna sing the whole song, but
what's the beat of it? What's the
oh,
chorus?
the chorus.
Was it a single?
Who's gonna make you fall?
It wasn't a single, right?
No, it wasn't a single.
Yeah.
It was like one of his hidden.
Oh,
it
know.
wasn't a
Okay.
single. Yeah, I know it.
Oh my God, but I love that song.
You got
Yeah.
Belonging Co in my head now.
I love that song.
Yeah. And let's see if I was gonna throw in. I'm actually not gonna throw in another song, but yeah, that would
Firework?
be like one of.
You're such a jerk, bitch.
We love you, Sam.
That song has a special place in my heart for other reasons. But yeah, that would be it for me. Definitely feel free to send in your favorite love songs.
Yes.
Send it in. Let us know what songs you like. But we're gonna move on to a kind of fun part of this segment.
So
Babe,
excited.
tell them what we're about to do.
So, as Sam mentioned earlier, or as you guys know, Sam and I are married.
What?
Matt and Jan are married.
Wet.
And we are, I guess, still considered newlyweds. Did we establish that?
We need definitive evidence, because some people say less than 5 years is newlywed, which to me sounds crazy.
Well, since we've all been together for some time, and we've been married for I think both of us have been married for roughly about a year and a half. And I thought it would be fun to play a little game. And in this game, we're gonna call it Who Knows Their Spouse.
Oh,
Dun,
Jesus.
dun, dun.
So,
Baby, I'm
Good Bad
sorry
Glory
in
crew,
advance.
you guys can't see
We're
this.
gonna crush it, babe.
But we have some paper and pens in front of us, and we're going to make sure that our spouses don't see our answers. So the rules: I will read a question.
Okay.
So the first 3 questions will be geared towards the gentleman.
Okay.
The last 3 questions would be geared towards the women, the ladies. And gentlemen, you are answering as if you were us. So what would we say?
Okay.
Gotcha.
And then we will
like
write
Battle
down.
of the Sexes, right? That
Yeah.
game. You have to answer.
We're trying to get the same.
And we will write down our answer.
Okay.
So yeah, here we go. Everybody ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ding ding ding.
No
Insert.
Oh, sorry. Before we begin, according to Wikipedia, the
That's
time
not credible
frame
source, bro.
is very credible. The time frame during which a married couple is considered newlywed varies, but for social science research purposes, it may be considered as up to 4 years into the marriage.
Aha. So we're so
We
we're gonna be
newlyweds,
newlyweds
bro.
for the next 3 years.
That's 3 years, yeah. We rookies.
First question for the gentleman. What would your spouse say is the one item of clothing you wear that they don't like?
Don't like.
Or / would want you to throw away?
So what do I think she's gonna say?
Yes.
As that item.
So let's start with the Thomases. The question was, what would your spouse say is the one item of clothing you wear that they don't like / would want you to throw away?
Okay.
Matthew Thomas, your answer was?
Listen, all my clothing is fly. So I put my holy underwear. HOLY.
For
okay?
all those
Saints.
who can't hear, Matt put his holy underwear. And Jan, you wrote
Old / ripped boxers.
Okay. I feel the need to clarify. I don't have a bunch of old, like, holy underwear. I had this one pair that I didn't realize had a rip in it. And so
he's walking all throughout the apartment.
So I didn't realize it, and then she was laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? And then she was like, oh, I threw it away.
I said, oh, your whole butt cheek out.
That's exactly what she said.
So that's one for the Thomases. No pressure, babe, if we don't get
good job, babe.
answers.
Okay. Well, since it's no pressure, I was actually about to write something similar to that, but I did not. I have a T-shirt, and this T-shirt has clumped up dots on it that my wife does not like seeing.
I don't.
So that's what I put. The T-shirt with the dots was my answer.
You know, if I don't like that shirt, I don't like that shirt so much that I put it in the back of my mind as if you don't have it. So that is not what I said. I said the red arrow hoodie, which is what he has on right now.
Oh my gosh. He's literally wearing
I'm wearing...
I want Sam
I spent
to
hours
get
picking this outfit
out for this
like, you guys have no idea how badly I would want Sam to burn this hoodie.
That was before
okay,
the
so I was about to say why, and then Sam lifts up his elbow. And
obvious reasons that it has holes.
Yo, Aeropostale
in them.
Taking over the zeros,
I used to have
the
mad
thousands.
sweaters. They lit.
But I digress.
Oh,
If I did remember that shirt was still in your closet, I probably would have said that. All right, question 2 for the husbands.
Yes.
If you had $100, what would your spouse say you would spend it on? All right, so babe, since the Thomases went first last time, why don't we take a stab at it? The question was, if you had $100, what would your spouse say you would spend?
I put 2 answers.
Okay.
Choose one.
I guess the first one I put was bills / house stuff.
Okay.
And then I put food.
Okay. So I too feel like my husband sometimes has this great appreciation for filling his stomach. So I too wrote food and bills. Well, I also put a music item.
Okay.
So I had 2 out of the 3.
Nice.
All right, cool. For those of you who don't know, Sam loves food, and he also always thinks about getting bills paid. So those are 2 things that came to mind. I love my husband. Matt and Jan?
First?
Yes.
I wrote buying something for my beautiful wife.
Aww. Jan?
Baby, that's not what I put.
What'd you put, babe?
I said he would buy like healthy food at Fairway because that's what he's been doing lately. He sounds like he'll buy kombucha drinks.
Oh my God, you listed it out?
Nuts.
Almond
milk. And then he's been saying we need a new clock for the bathroom. So we're shocked.
But $100 is like so much. I feel like, honestly, if I had $100, I'd be like, okay, what can I really get with this $100? And that would probably be like $20.
No, it wouldn't. We went to Fairway yesterday for like $50 on That's why I right there. I put at Fairway.
At Fairway.
She's like, that's half of that
Whole
right
Foods.
there.
We live in large.
All right, next question, guys. We're killing in these questions here.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Bum ba da bum. What would your spouse say is the next place they want to visit? So what is the next place that Jan and I would say we want to visit? Sam, you writing a paragraph? Sam, you're very confident.
Light work.
I'm not sure.
I got this
Light
too.
work.
I know. I'm talking about Naomi's.
All right, everybody got the answers?
Yeah.
All right, Thomases. The question was, what would your spouse say is their all-time... Wait. What would your spouse say is the place that they would want to visit? Their all-time favorite place.
That they have not been to.
That they have not been to.
My answer is Haiti or South Africa.
Oh my gosh, you know me!
That's what you wrote?
Jan 2 wrote Haiti and South Africa. Shout out to the Thomases.
You know me, oh.
All right.
Here we go.
Sam, you better know me. No.
I got this.
joking. Slightly. No, I really am joking.
No pressure.
Somewhat.
Kind of.
No pressure.
All right,
Okay.
here we go. What did you say, babe? What was
All
your
right, there
answer?
are the top two places that you would go to. All right,
I'm
one.
scared. Okay.
He's gonna be like Boston.
Queens.
I'm so scared.
Why are
Okay.
you scared?
I don't know. I'm just very nervous.
All right.
Okay.
Number one. Oh, I'm not gonna put these in any order in particular.
Okay.
All right.
He's never.
Number one
He's
is
never
not the
gonna say
Disclaimer.
it.
Disclaimer. All right.
Okay.
So when it comes to places that you would like to go, a little backstory here, guys.
Oh, Sam.
No,
Because he knows he's right.
this.
Sorry. No, I need to write this. This is real. This is real.
Okay.
This is not.
You just thought of something?
Yes, because this is
And it's
that
something
is actually.
that I already have written
That's
on
actually
this paper.
Right,
legit.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's
Let's
see.
do it.
One of the ones I put down was Australia.
Yes, that's my all-time
Yay.
favorite place. Anyone who knows me, send me to Australia.
I knew that, and I'm not her husband.
My best friend Jan, she knows. Oh my God, that is my all-time favorite place. I hope we all can go there for my 25th birthday.
Hey.
Plug.
Come
Just
on,
saying.
Jesus.
Just saying.
Open
Just
the
saying.
floodgates, Lord.
And the second place, she actually travels there all the time via YouTube.
Okay,
And
yeah.
this would happen to be London,
Yes,
the UK.
yes. Yes,
All right.
that is factual.
Yeah. And then I like as like a little third one.
Like I just
I know you had wanted to go there back when we were like dating, us Turks and Caicos.
Yes, yes. I didn't have that third one though.
What
I had
was it then?
Tahiti
Tahiti?
as my third one.
Interesting.
Yeah, Tahiti. Turks, I still want to visit Turks and Caicos, but it's always been Australia. If anyone
Yeah,
knows
Aussie,
me, is my all-time favorite. London is a very close second. The UK, and then Tahiti would be my third. As well as Tokyo and Japan.
Yo, I don't know if you guys well obviously the whole world knows that Will Smith just created his like Instagram
yeah.
and then he has a YouTube channel too.
He didn't have an Instagram all this time?
No, brand new, and he's killing it. And he has a YouTube, and he was in Australia for the Bright tour, and he put up like some videos of him in Australia. And I watched one today, and it made me want to go to Australia.
Yo,
right
We
now.
going.
I
It was
really
so
want to go.
good.
Either there or Mykonos, Greece. For my just saying. Those are the places. But next question here.
So this is
this is for the ladies.
Okay.
Better get it right.
Answer
Better
the
get it right.
Baby, don't put pressure.
No, that was my question, baby. You got it.
What would your spouse say is your best trait? Let's stay away from the physical traits.
Oh, I was ready. My pen
Let's
was
stay
on
away
the
from
page.
physical traits. Let's discuss inner
What do you mean
beauty.
by physical traits? Like
Like, don't say
neck
breasts.
up? You could focus
Say
on the
boobs.
neck up.
That's it.
Let's focus on the inner beauty. The
Let's hold
inner
on. Okay,
qualities.
nothing physical. Then.
Yeah, let's focus on the inner qualities.
You should notice, babe. You should notice.
I should know this about myself.
Actually, wait.
I'm going to say what my husband always says. So if he doesn't say this, he has lied to me the whole time we've been together.
Just learn more and more about you each day, babe. So.
Nice.
Nice. Save.
Guys, you don't know this, but Jan is always instigating me and Sam.
No, because Sam is the ultimate instigator. Me and Matt could be like playing around or arguing. He'd be like, ooh, ooh.
Oh, my favorite is woo.
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 The many sounds of Sam. The ladies are done
So
writing.
much. See, because we love y'all so much, it's like so many things that we could say.
They trying to get brownie
Exactly.
points before Valentine's Day.
I ran out of
right,
paper.
say-
you know,
right, I
just-
need a couple more pages.
I'm writing a thesis.
All right, are we ready to answer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Milords, myself, and Sam, babe. Oh, the question was, what would your spouse say is your best trait? Sam has been telling me this for the last 6 years that we have been together. So if he gets this incorrect, I am not cooking for the rest of the week.
I'm
Ooh,
sweating.
stakes is high.
No, what does Sam do?
Woo, woo.
What I said is my heart / the way I love people. That is what I said. That is what Sam has said
That
for the
face.
last
Sam,
6 years.
what does that face mean?
Whenever I say, babe, why do you love me? He says, I love you because of the way you love people and your heart.
Oh.
And that is true. That is
It's
very
one of the
true.
many things.
One of the many things. You know? And like I said, there's just so many things there that I just love as equally as the other thing.
Right.
That I had, something else that, you didn't finish necessarily.
Right. So finish my statement. Go ahead.
The way you love other people is so unique to you. Very unique. It's one of a kind. It's a very one of a kind, unique personality trait.
Come on.
And that's what, one of the things I said is that you just have a one of a kind personality. So much so, I say that so much, it's like, oh, that's so cliche. What do you mean?
You do. I do say that.
You do
I
say that.
You say because you're unique. And I say that's such a cliche.
And I also threw in your silliness.
Yeah.
As well.
Actually,
Yo, this
that
chick
is
is
something
very
you've been
silly.
saying.
She's very
I
silly.
do be saying that, right?
That is something. You're right. You know what? I'm going to cook for you.
You don't.
Oh, yeah.
You
That's
don't
beautiful.
know me. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna cook for you.
Oh, okay. That's every day in this household, by the way.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next. Thomas's.
Woo!
So,
What you got
Kenzie?
there?
Okay, so I feel like you said this today. So I hope this is what you put. I said that you would say that I'm humble, my humility,
Okay.
and that I'm thoughtful of others.
Okay. I did say that today. And also, there's so
You
many
literally before we came here, like he literally said,
things. So it's
like that's not even a lie.
there's a lot of things. So okay.
Baby, don't be erasing nothing.
No. Excuse me.
What are you
Thomas,
writing
what
there?
did
What are
you
you writing
say?
on that?
I just
paper?
wrote that I appreciate her patience is one of the many things.
You did say that today.
I did say that today. And her heart of humility.
No, that was a
What?
last minute write-in.
No,
We are not.
I did have her heart, and I meant of humility, so I just put it in the paper. This is
Okay, so none of us got that.
a lot of things in that.
Moving on. We clearly
Oh,
don't
okay.
know. Moving on to
Because
the
put this
next
in the wrong
question.
pile.
Second to last question. Question is, what would Jan or me, what would we say is our favorite food? Or not our together, but our separately. Or cuisine or type of food.
This is hard.
Is it? Are you serious? This is something I have
this
been
is easy.
literally
What?
saying the whole week.
Sam, she not gonna cook for you.
Yep. Oh,
He said
Sam, if you do not
Y'all
get
eat,
this,
you guys eat so
But
many
he said
different
this
types
is
of cuisine.
cuisine. This is specifically cuisine.
or type of food.
Like a dish or like a category of food.
Yeah, that's like, what's the difference between a type of food and a cuisine?
No. But I feel like you would know, like if I say this, you're gonna be like, what?
Like
Yes.
I know one that I've been categorically saying for like years, and I've been getting it right.
No, then you about to get it wrong.
That-
You about to get it wrong.
I got this.
Sam, don't be so confident.
I got this. It's
You got
a
this,
new
Sam.
wave you've been on. It's a new wave.
Yo,
I
give me a
got
high
this.
five. I believe in
got
you, bro.
this. I
Yes.
got this.
Okay.
All
So
right.
we're all good?
We
all right.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, we answered first, actually. So,
No,
No,
you guys
yeah.
were first
Last time.
oh, so you guys answered
Yeah.
first. Okay, so the question was, what would Jan and I say is our favorite type of food and or cuisine? Thomas's?
So, do I say the answer first?
Yes.
So, I have recently been obsessed with Bana Cafe.
Shout
I tried
out.
it out for my birthday. Yo,
Bana.
y'all gotta go. It's a vegan Ethiopian spot. I'm not vegan, but I was for like 21 days for January because of this chick, Naomi. You heard on the podcast that they were going to do the whole thing. She dragged me into it. Yeah, it was cool.
And she enjoyed it.
But I am not a vegan. But that spot, whether I'm vegan or not, I love that place. It's like amazing. Yes, I really hope Matthew knows this because I feel like I mention it all the time. Do I not? Milords?
You do.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Oh, God.
It's
Really,
very
babe?
consistent. Listen, it's very consistent that you don't have a favorite cuisine. So like for a long time, I was like, oh, I love Thai food, and I was like, oh, okay, you love Thai food, and then I was like, yeah, I don't really love Thai food. I like it just because it's cheap. And I was in college, so I was like, okay, so that's not your really favorite cuisine. So it's tricky trying to figure out what your favorite cuisine would be.
You know what it is about me? when I like something, I obsess over it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's
Like
That is
Frosted
true.
Flakes. Yo, I
There was a-
love Frosted
Bruh.
Flakes. And then now I'm just kind of like,
And I just want to say, I'm just gonna put us out there.
All
Actually,
right.
put me out there because I'm the one who handles the garbage. There's 2 boxes of Frosted Flakes on top of my fridge right now. Because there was a
Yeah.
moment where you were obsessed.
okay, baby, what'd you put?
I put Ethiopian vegan food
Baby,
because
wait.
of Butter Cafe.
You made me go
He
through
made
all
this
of that.
Game.
speech and he got it right. Like, what
Got
is
it.
this? All right.
Well, good job.
All right, now before you
Samuel?
go, dude, I put down an answer
Uh-huh.
that was the normal answer.
The
then I
normal
put down the one that
Normal.
then I put down the one that I think you're gonna say now.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. I have recently been in this like season of my life where this cuisine it makes me so happy. It warms my heart and my soul. Every day I crave this thing and I probably could eat it for the rest of my life. And that would be
Wait, hold up. I just thought of. I'm just gonna add a little asterisk to what I'm gonna put. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
that would be Mexican food / tacos.
Uh-oh.
Dun,
That
dun, dun.
every day this week, actually the last 2 weeks, I have been telling Sam, I want tacos. I want tacos. I want tacos. It was like 1:00 in the morning the other day, and Sam, who is my lovely husband, who also does not like encourage me to eat that late, was like, all right, if you really want the tacos, we can find a spot that got tacos. But we ended up not getting tacos because clearly it was mad late. But tacos, Sam,
Yes.
question is,
Yes.
what did you put?
Okay.
homie?
I just want to state for the record.
You want to stay for the record?
State for the record.
Oh.
That historically,
Historically.
I've been the one that has liked Mexican food,
That's not
and
factual.
that's been my favorite.
Yeah.
Maybe not historically.
It was barbecue
First.
like
And
Yeah.
burger.
Yes,
no,
for
no, no,
a
not
while,
burger.
for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
for
look,
sure.
look at everybody on this table like, yeah,
But-
yeah, because that is not historical.
But where have we gone for like the maybe last 2 birthdays?
That is true.
Mexican, that's
because
true.
that has been
But do I have a complaint about it?
what?
Do I have a complaint about the
He
Mexican?
said, what?
No, you don't complain
Right.
about it. I just want to say that
Okay.
that was always mine. While yours has historically always been seafood.
That's true.
Yes.
That is very, very 110% accurate.
Yes.
Jan also brought up that Asian food was a
She
very
likes
That's what I
Asian.
first thought, but I did
Hi.
not put that down.
Favorite.
I was gonna put down Thai, but I didn't put that down. But
But
this new wave you have been on,
Mm-hmm.
which I remembered at the nick of time. Not just now. That's not what I wrote just now.
Okay.
So I did have Mexican
yes.
Nice.
on there, and then
I
what I
love Mexican.
remembered, I wrote down tacos in parentheses next to
Yo,
Mexican
you
food.
get extra credit.
Thank you, baby. You know me.
got it.
You know me.
Yes.
Oh.
All right.
Well, congratulations. Woo! We're
was
all
fun.
winners. We're all winners.
Yeah.
We're all winners.
Not bad. And it's great that we know so many things about each other.
That's right.
But as we get into our glorious thought, we're going to get into some things that maybe we wish we knew about marriage before we got married. So I know a lot of our listeners, you're very curious about married life and things like that. So what we're going to get into for our glorious thought is, what I pretty much mentioned before, which is, what do you know now about love and life that you wish you knew before you got married? And
I feel like I'm left out.
maybe
It's mad delayed.
maybe a way to kind of frame this question in your minds is, with all the counseling and marriage prep that we had to go through before we got married, what didn't they tell you? So you can think about it either one of those two ways. Yeah. So whoever wants to go first, you could just go.
Something that I wish I knew then before. Wait, something that I wish I knew before getting
If I
married.
knew now what I wish I would have known back then.
Tongue twister. Is that it is important to identify what makes you happy and clearly communicate that. And what I mean by that is like, I think before getting married, I was like, oh man, yeah, this makes me happy and that makes me happy and XYZ makes me happy and love makes me happy and affection makes me happy and having money makes me happy. And then I slowly started to realize like those same things were like false things. Like the one thing that was true was that affection does make me happy, but I didn't need to have money to be happy, or I didn't need to be in this like rich marriage to be happy, or have like 2 cars in this like 4-bedroom apartment to be happy. And I wish I understood that before coming in, because you know, as you guys know, and Sam has said it on the podcast, we've gone through a lot in the first year and a half that, you know, we've been married financially. And had I realized that earlier, like those things actually don't make you happy, a lot of what we would have went through wouldn't have gotten the reactions that they did, if that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a lot of different things were happening financially. And I mean, we're going to keep it real on the podcast. We have 2 people here who are the closest to me who can say like, they have seen me at some like crazy places because of certain financial things that have happened. And once I understood like, wait, this is false. Like this doesn't actually make me happy. What makes me happy is having my husband. What makes me happy is love. What makes me happy is knowing that we can get through these things together versus the what's the word? The like
monetary.
Yeah, versus the like monetary. And I know it sounds like I'm mad, like superficial, like, oh, I wanted like Louis bags and all these things, which is not true. I think that growing up, and I mentioned this on the podcast before, growing up for me wasn't always like financially stable. So for me, I was like, oh, that's the way to achieve happiness, because I went through all of this stuff and I wasn't happy growing up as a kid in my teenage years. And so I know this was going to make me happy. And then that didn't happen and I was still happy. And I was like, oh, I mean, it's not that this thing was going to make me happy. It's the developing love between Sam and I. It's the relationship between us. It's not the actual zeros in the bank account, so to speak, you know? And had I known that prior, I think I could have avoided a lot of like panic attacks and like worry. Right. Because where I am now is definitely different from back then. So that's one of the things.
For me, I think I wish I did a lot more, I guess, self-evaluation on the way I guess, approached things concerning communication. So for myself, growing up, I was just used to going through things and just keeping it in. And it wasn't until, honestly, like I started dating Matt where he would encourage me like, no, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And it was uncomfortable in the beginning, but definitely beneficial. I was just used to holding everything in. But I also realized that if we're going to be transparent here, I think a lot of times I can be on like a defense type mechanism. Like if, let's say Matt's like, oh, why is something there? I'm automatically like, oh, I did something wrong right away, right? And I think where that stems from is, I think things that have happened from my childhood, not that I had a terrible childhood, but I think in certain situations, I could have been, I think I was expected to respond to certain things like an adult should have, although I was a child. So I think internally, like with just dealing with things, I just always wanted to make sure like things were in its right place. And if not, it was just like, oh my God, no. So I wish that I did a lot more self-reflection in that, because I feel like I would have gotten into our marriage with a better headspace and communication, so it wouldn't cause any like miscommunication in that sense. But I think that's also the beauty of marriage. Like no one goes imperfect. Mm-hmm. So it's like, so if you're listening to the podcast, it's like, yeah, do self-reflection, which is great, but no one ever goes imperfect. So it's like when you do get into those obstacles, if you notice things and it's like, oh man, this probably stems from this when I was 10 or when I was 15. It's like, it's okay. You just kind of work on it and just be honest. Yeah. But yeah.
I think it's important to say too, like leading up to like even engagement, because at our church, shout out to the Life Church, shout out to Pastor Ernst Koji. We do pre-engagement counseling, which I think it's that's the way it should be. Just because by the time you're married, I think like this is the reason why it's done this way is because by the time you're married, it's like premarital counseling is like, all right, yeah, check. Okay, next we gotta go to the florist. Next we gotta go to. It's just a check off on your list. Mm-hmm. Whereas pre-engagement, it's like this is a real moment to kind of sit and look at. Okay, this is what marriage is. This is what I'm getting ready to, to sign up for. Do I want to actually do that? So we, I think that was a great thing. So I think even in that process of pre-engagement, I think a lot of things did come to light. I was like, okay, this is something to look out for. But one of the best advice I got about marriage before we got married was from a friend of mine who, I guess, according to those rules, was a newlywed. And he was just saying, yeah, in his pre-engagement, they did like the whole marriage snapshot. So this is what is your perfect marriage? What's your perfect marriage? All right, put it together. All right, great. That's what your marriage is going to look like. You got to work towards your snapshot. And he was like, bro, we got married and threw that joint out the window. Because there is no, like, once you get into, so long story short, his advice was when you get married, all bets are off and you just got to work with this living, breathing thing. I think that was the best advice I got, because now it kind of, coming into marriage, I was able to kind of be like, all right, well, this is something brand new. Right. But even in that, I think I learned that marriage is definitely the coming together of two lives, which seems like duh, but it's like, no, but you don't get it. Like certain things you have done a certain way. You for over 2 decades, you don't have to readjust. And that's like an elementary thing, but it was something I had to learn. Also learning that the way you like the internal dialogue that we all have, that just when you're thinking to yourself, the way you think is now something that you share with someone else. So it's like you have to kind of make sure you're being watchful over like the habits that you have, that they don't spread into marriage. Especially unhealthy habits. Like if you're let's say you're like always comparing your life to someone on Instagram, like your own personal life. When you get married, you may end up comparing your house or your marriage or your spouse to someone else on Instagram, which is very dangerous. I think that the another thing I've learned is just that marriage is just like our lives are always evolving. We're always growing and changing. Marriage is always growing and changing, especially with us being in the first year and months of being married. I think I had this idea that people always say, oh, the first year of marriage is going to be so difficult. For us, it wasn't necessarily difficult in the sense of like bickering and arguing at all, because it's just not the relationship we have. But there were challenges, and that made it difficult. But I think in my mind, because I always heard this first year thing, after 1 year, I was like, okay, so by the end of that first year, we should be in marriage mode, and it's like autopilot, and you just kind of go smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And it's like recently I'm just learning, like, no, you're always, number one, you're always learning how to be married. You're always learning how to, and I think you will for a majority of marriage. That's why marriage is a lifelong thing. Like if it was that easy, like after 10 years, it'd be like, all right, we got this down packed. Let's start over fresh somewhere else. But you're always learning how to be married. You're always learning about your spouse. And I think that's something that I'm realizing, like, it's not after 1 year you're on autopilot. It's actually, you're always growing together. Right. So
I feel like that was that was the common phrase, like, the first year, the first year. And I used to be like, I mean, I don't think we'll go through, like, we won't be arguing. But I was telling Sam this, and I think I told Jen this one time. I was like, I wish people were like slightly bit more transparent with that. Like the first year being like, y'all were arguing. The first year it was like relearning each other. Like, what did the first year look like?
Because I would say I think we had a great first year. Like you said, there were challenges. I feel like our first year could have been hell if we let those challenges get in the way of each other.
Right.
So I feel like those challenges wasn't necessary. There were things that were kind of out of our control.
Right.
So I feel like because we had each other in mind, we were able to tackle it together. Right. But if we didn't have each other in mind, those challenges could have made us come at each other. So it's kind of like, I feel like if you have each other in mind, then you'll be in unison to tackle those challenges. So I feel like it depends on how you're handling it. Like it could have been,
and it could have been
with
bad.
the grace of God. Like, it was all God.
And if you're resistant to, like, if you go into a marriage like, all right, this is gonna be what I want it to be, then you're in for a hell of a challenge because it's not real life. Like, either you're gonna get your way and someone's gonna be really upset and unhappy, or you're just gonna constantly be trying to get your way and it's always gonna be this battle. I think that's one of the reasons why, like, your first year doesn't have to be that hard if you're not thinking, I'm gonna make this what I want it to be. It's just, you literally have to go into marriage thinking, this is a brand new thing. I know nothing about it, and I'm learning it with the person that I love, and that's okay. Yeah. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, it's difficult sometimes maybe to be humble and be like, yo, okay, I made a mistake, or yeah, you're right. That actually works out way better, or whatever it may be. Yeah. But you have to be willing to do that. Otherwise, you're gonna just be up against a brick wall the whole time.
It's true. And like that statement, you said something that was like, yo, oh my gosh, that's probably why I thought this. But that statement, and you I think you said, and help me to remember your words verbatim, but something along the lines of like, okay, yeah, we got through the first year and now I'm on autopilot. After the first year for me and Sam, I was like, all right, so things should get like better. Like, and it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't like we were arguing or I was throwing like glasses at him or shoes at him when he deserved. No, I'm joking. It wasn't anything like that. And as you guys know, like we've mentioned a little bit about it. Like there were some really crazy things happening for us financially in our first year. And those things, like Jan said, it could have been a make or break for Sam and I. But after we hit our first year, I was like, okay, so that's over. Like, and then it was like a year and a day. And I was like, actually,
there's more.
A year and a month, actually. Like it makes you realize like, no, there isn't an autopilot. There isn't a moment where it's like, no, you're just cruising now. Like, and when you are cruising, you have to like kind of check in like, wait a minute.
You think of marriage as literally the I feel like it's the depiction analogy between the relationship between Christ and the church. And when you think of your spiritual walk, you never should be on autopilot. You always have to be consistently pouring in to keep your relationship alive and on fire. And as God takes you to from glory to glory, literally the enemy will try to attack you on greater levels, but you can't let that affect your relationship with Christ. You got to keep pushing. It's the same concept when it comes to marriage. It's like, you get through one challenge. It's like, whew, we got through that. We're chilling. It's like, no, the enemy is really against marriages. So it's like, all right, we got through this. Be watchful. Let's pray together. Let's keep on tackling. Like, it's a constant pushing to keep on going, keep the fire alive. It's the same correlation with our relationship with Christ. Our marriage. It's the same thing.
It's work. And it's like, I think people say that all the time, oh, marriage is work. But it's like, I think that idea of that autopilot thing is kind of underlying thing. Because even for myself, it's recent. I was like, I'm like, why do I feel like there was this moment where I'm like, okay, this is it? Because I didn't realize that was a mentality that I had. And when people say marriage is work, I think sometimes it's kind of understated. It's like, oh, marriage is, it's work, but da-da-da-da. It's like, it's not bad work. It's like when you go to your job, you need a vacation, you need a weekend, because like some people's jobs are things that they hate. And it's just like, I just do it because I need money. But marriage isn't that kind of a work. It's more like when you have a career, like you work, but then even when you're on vacation, you're thinking about work. Your joy is your
I
work.
think what's a better analogy, like in the day and age we live in, when we think of work, we think of, clocking in at a 9 to 5, working for an employer or something like that. Maybe it's better to think of it as like a business. Like this is something you're building. This is something you're investing in. This is like your thing that you have ownership of. And you pouring into that and you working is the building up of, like if you keep it in that business mindset, you're building that brand, you're building this idea that you have. Like it should be something that, you have a passion for, because it's something that came out of your heart. So that's probably the better way to see it. And that'll probably motivate you as a better way of putting in that quote unquote work, where it's like, yo, if you're not doing it, nobody else is gonna do it. Like you and your wife is like the CEO of this thing, and both of y'all gotta work on it, or no one else is going to.
And you literally can't. You have to look at it as like you can't give up on it, because even on a business, it's like we're in the red, let's file for chapter 11, we out of here, like that kind of thing. Like marriage is not that. It's like you have to, the way I look at like even vows and commitment, right? That commitment of marriage, especially, it's like you're making a promise. Your past self, if you want to say, like on your wedding day or when you decided I'm going to get engaged to this woman, you're making a promise to your future self. You're saying, listen, this is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. And then now when you're married in this present day and age, you're keeping that promise that your past self made. So it's like you have to work both ways. You have to know and trust yourself in the future to keep that. And then when the troubles come or whatever, other temptations, when it's like, this is a lot of work, I don't feel like doing it, you have to trust that your past self made the right choice.
Yeah.
And then that's how you kind of keep that commitment. So now it's like, all right, this, like, if you using the same business analogy, it's like, we're in the red, but I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is the business I need to be in. And I'll sell my house if I have to or whatever. Like, you do what you got to do to keep that business afloat. Same thing with marriage. You kind of just got to keep the promise you made to yourself and to your spouse.
Yeah, honoring that. Like, I think it's so easy sometimes. Like, I hear, or recently I was having a conversation with an old friend of mine, and she was just saying, she was like, how she was shocked that, I got married so young and made this commitment. How do I know that I'm going to want the same thing when I'm 30 or when I'm 28? And I was like, it's funny because a lot of people have that question. A lot of people are like, well, you're doing this at 22 or you're doing this at 24 or 26 or, whatever. And you're making this lifelong commitment to be with this person until you're 80 years old. Like, so you're just going to look at the same person. You're just going to be with the same person, that kind of thing. And it's like, for me, like when I knew Sam was the one, I knew I wasn't looking at anyone else. Like it was a thing, like and not to say that, and I'm just being 100% honest, not to say that someone who is attractive walks down the street, you're like, no, I have eyes only for my husband. It's like you notice that person, but what you choose to do with that noticing them has to be your continuous choice, which I hope you're choosing to just be like, oh, I noticed and I kept to push it. I hope that's the choice you make. That's the continuous one to be taking. And what I'm realizing is that marriage is a consistent what's the word? A consistent like flow of choices. Like you have to continuously choose the betterment of your marriage. I don't know if betterment is a word, but okay. The betterment of your marriage. Like if you at any point choose yourself over your marriage, that's when things start to crumble. Like you cannot choose yourself over your marriage. Like recently, Sam and I were having this conversation because I said something. I made a statement where I was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, I want whatever. Let's just say the statement was like, I want more love or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that may be what I want, but what do you want? Like, I want to know what we can work on together. And in that moment, it was like, for Sam, it was like, yo, you thought about me too. I know that this is what you want, but you thought about me too. And I think that's something that, at least for me, people did say like, make sure, especially like my mom, she's like, you got to make sure you serve your husband, and you got to make sure, you got to put food on the table for him, and you got to do this for him. But it never for me was like, you got to make sure you choose him. Like you have to choose what works for the marriage, not just what works for you. Like, and if you are someone that feels like, yo, I can't do this, like I can't just always choose someone else, or I can't just always choose what works for us and not what works for me, then that's when things start to become murky and muddy waters,
Yeah. And even like, you're hearing all these, things we're saying we wish we knew. It really all stems from just, kind of life choices in a sense. Like, it's not necessarily things that you necessarily, quote unquote, have to do to be with another person. There are like certain things you can do it's just good life principles just for yourself. Like, if I were to use examples, like, Jan, you said, something like self-reflecting, seeing how you grew up and stuff like that. It's good to do that as a single person, just out of like, there's certain things that we've all grown up with and that affects our personal lives, our friendships, our business relationships, things like that. So a big thing that could kind of, I guess, you know, is an underlying factor of, I think, everything that you guys have said and what I'll bring up later on. But sometimes we don't take the time out to really, and it's really key to really, really work on yourself before even thinking about like, oh, I'm marrying this person, marrying that person. But taking that time out to really, you know, look at your own personal flaws, your own spiritual life, and really working on that just out of the simple fact, like, yo, I want to grow as a person. Sometimes we don't really take that time out to really better ourselves so that we can be a good gift to another person, which is not, you know, a way we like to think in this day and age, like, oh, I'm doing me for me, you know, stuff like that. But you know, marriage is not about that at all. It's about the other person. And when I think about what I wish I knew, or not even just knew, but kind of took more seriously before I got married, was definitely something I could have done without thinking about marriage. And my key thing is something that I just told someone who got engaged. He was asking me about marriage life, and he was like, yo, how is it? I was like, look, if there's one piece of advice I could give you, is to make sure your prayer life is on point, bro. Like, make sure it is on point. Like, and like I mentioned before, that's not something where you need to be planning a wedding, or you need to be looking to get married and say, oh, what can I do to be a good husband? What can I do to be a good wife? It's something you could think about at like 14 years old. You gave your life to Christ. Like, yo, I need to make sure I'm praying, I'm talking to God. I can hear the Lord. Like, I know what he's saying and stuff like that. And that's something I quote unquote like knew, like, as some people say, like, oh yeah, you know, you pray and stuff like that. But it wasn't something that I took seriously enough in my life to develop a very good, consistent, effective, disciplined prayer life. Like, so yeah, you know, I'd pray every now and again. I knew how to pray and stuff like that. But I'm married now, and you know, like my wife mentioned, we went through a lot of things financially, and now these things come up. I'm not praying at all. Like, I'm here thinking about other things, you know, other things are slipping. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm doing all these things and I'm not turning to God at all, because that wasn't something I built up before I got married. So now we're at something where it's like, all right, if things are going good, maybe I remember to pray and stuff like that. If things are going bad, I'm definitely not remembering to pray. It's just like, I got to think about this. This is on my mind and stuff like that. Where when I look back now at everything we would have went through, and how me, especially being the husband, if I prayed and I was able to, you know, focus, hear from God, steer the ship of, you know, the family and stuff like that, things could have gotten probably a whole lot smoother than how it was. So that's one thing that really stands out to me looking back on the year and a half my wife and I have been married, especially as a man, and the person I was talking to was a guy. So I was like, especially as a man, make sure your prayer life is just like 100% on point.
It's so funny. That's exactly, I wrote that down while you're writing. I was like, especially as husbands. I think that's just growing up as, you know, African Americans in America, Caribbean Americans in America. It's like, you typically see, you know, the moms, the church mothers are the ones that are praying. And they're like, you go to intercessory prayer service, and it's like women. There's no testosterone in that room. And it's like, you kind of get this subconscious messaging that prayer and prayer warriors are the women. And the men are just like, we're the ones that we bring in the money. We make sure that, you know, the house is taken care of. We go out, we do like the physical things. But when it comes to spiritual battle, that's for the women. And I think that's something that I learned as well as a new husband. It's just like, oh wow, because literally, you know, I think that's a big thing I learned too. I didn't say that before, but in marriage, I think I realized like, oh, this role of a husband is not just like, oh, you're a husband because you're married, so now you just automatically, like, husband comes with a lot of responsibilities of its own. And so I think realizing that, it's like you can kind of have the bravado of just like, oh, whatever, I could take care of this or whatever, but at the end of the day, the reason why I think you're saying all the things that have to do with becoming a better spouse have to do with being a better person is because you just have to be a better person to be a good spouse. Because it's like it's who you are being clearly seen by someone else. It's like ultimate intimacy. Absolutely. Like you can be, you know, in the streets like, oh, this is who I am. But then when you get home, if you're like depressed and drinking, when you're married, now that person is 100% privy to that. Yeah. So it's like when it comes to leading a house as a husband, it's like, oh, okay, I definitely can't just front like I got it. I have to actually have it. And I think that's where, you know, prayer and the leading of the Holy Spirit, I think that's the biggest thing. Being in a marriage, you have to be. It sounds mad churchy to say this. Like, exactly. if someone's not saying, they're like, "What? Come on, what's the real answer?" No, this is the real answer. Like, you gotta be led by like the Holy Spirit will show you how. Yo, okay, fun little anecdote. There was a time where I was in the mall or something like that, or some store, and there were these earrings, like a pack of earrings, and I saw the like I was paying for something else and I saw the earrings. I was like, I felt like the Holy Spirit was like, just get the earrings. And I was just like, okay. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna give them to Jan when I get home or whatever. And I bought them and they were just in my bag. I just forgot about it. And then fast forward to I forgot about it. And then one day Jan's at home. She's like, I need a pair of earrings.
It was
crazy. It was like, I was like, oh, and I'll go and pull them out. She's like, what?
Like, how'd you do that? I was like, oh, I need some earrings. And he pulled out mad earrings. I'm like,
a multi-pack of earrings. And I was just like, and it's like little things like that. Like when you follow the leading of the Holy Spirit, it doesn't have to always be, thus saith the Lord. Pull out the anointing oil and like drench your wife in anointing oil.
Sometimes that is necessary.
Sometimes you need to do that, yeah. But and in those times, it's built up by the little steps of listen to me, like call her now, like, you know, do this, do that. Like the Holy Spirit can lead you into a better life for yourself and for when you have a better life for yourself, it creates a better life for your wife and in your marriage. So yeah,
absolutely.
And just as important for the husbands, wives, you need to be praying too.
Listen,
it is really, really, really important, and it's important to. And I don't think we've mentioned this, but it's important to also have a community around you. When you're married, I feel like. That was one thing that, shout out to Pastor Ernst, he had told Sam and I when we were doing our pre-engagement. He's like, you know, make sure you have a good community of like healthy marriages around you and things like that. And I really took hold to that because I'm just like, well, if you're new to this and you've been doing it, then I can just pull from like, you know, what you've been doing kind of thing. But yeah, I think that is equally as important, and definitely wives, like praying. I believe that we can set the tone of our home sometimes. Like if we're down, your husband is going to feel that you feel down. It's not going to be just like, you're down. Oh, my husband's just happy, go lucky in the corner. He's going to be like, no, there's something wrong. Like, I got to figure out what's wrong.
If you married the right one.
Right. That is true.
Hold up.
Right. When you're happy, you can feel the joy in your home too. It's just important that as wives as well, that we remember that, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like that.
I think it's the fervency in prayer.
Yes. Because I don't know what this was, but yes.
There was one time, I agree with you, Sam. Like, I feel like when I got married, it was like, yeah, I mean, my relationship with God's good. Like, I serve and I pray, but it's coasting, you know? It's just the same old, like nothing like with fervency, with passion. And one time the Lord told me, he was like, I need you to pray with fervency over your husband because there are certain prayers that only you can pray over him to propel him into his purpose. And ever since he told me that, it was just like, okay, no, for real, like you have a responsibility. It's not only, you know, Matt hearing from God, like, okay, I'm going to go left, I'm going to go right. It's also, okay, God, what is my role in his life? Like, what am I supposed to pray over him and cover him with so that he can also go into his purpose fully? Because it's a team effort. So it has to be more than just, all right, Father God, we thank you. But I'm not saying you got to yell all the time, but I mean being fully in it, not dozing off in bed, you know, while praying. But I mean, whatever you have to do, it doesn't have to, I mean, some people could be early morning people, some people could be in the daytime. It's just a matter of your intention and being, I think it's that fervency and understanding your role. Like, I really believe there are certain prayers that wives can only pray over their husbands, and I'm sure husbands over their wives too. It's that serious, and then it affects the legacy of your home for your children too. You set that tone for your kids, and that's why I feel like it's important for both parties. Like you said, I know you said a lot of times you see those church mothers, but it's important for the husbands to be just as fervent in that, so your children just are born into that atmosphere and it's just normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I agree with you. And I even love a word you used when you first started. You said coasting, and it came to my mind because I was thinking of myself, and I was like I could tell on myself and be like, yo, I have like a kind of coasting personality, especially when it comes to life, and you cannot coast like when it comes to leading the home and marriage. But I also believe it is impossible to coast when you have a strong prayer life. Yeah. Because God is going to be constantly talking to you, and you can't just be hearing God telling you stuff and just not doing it. It's going to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So having that prayer life is going to eliminate that like coastingness like in you.
And
like,
I think it's perfect what you say. If you ever are questioning, or if you're questioning like, am I just coasting? If you feel like 100% like you just chilling, you're coasting. Because I feel like with God, like you said, it's just like, wait, what you say? Wait, what? Dad, God, you sure? Oh, okay, let's fast. It's not like, oh my God, ADHD. It's just like, all right, I'm trusting you. Okay. Like whenever, I think I heard someone say this, like if you're not, if something God tells you, it doesn't scare you, or like if your purpose isn't that big or your dream isn't big enough to scare you, then that's like, not okay. Like you're just coasting. You need to be at that place where it's like, God, I literally cannot do this without you, like that type of thing. But yeah.
And I think it all goes back to the individual thing. Because if, like, let's say someone's listening, or hey guys, if you're listening to this and you're not married, you're not even in a relationship, the good news is you're in the perfect position to start preparing. Because it's like it's all about, like something like prayer. It can seem lofty, and it can seem like, oh, I can't pray like these people. But like, for example, someone may say, I don't have the language to pray. I can't like say all those words. I don't know what to say. But if you just read the word, that kind of creates the vocabulary for you on a very practical level. And then as you pray, it becomes less awkward, and it becomes more of having a conversation with God. So now it's like, that's something you can do from the minute you get saved. It doesn't take a prospective, spouse for that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, you're not gonna go to the gym on the first day and start benching 450.
Exactly.
But you could pick up the 5 pound, dumbbell, start with that.
Yeah.
It's like the same with prayer. You just start with what you got, and then the more you do it, the more it'll grow, and the more, God will feed your spirit, and you'll grow in your ability to pray. And
100%. Like it starts in your single phase once you're saved.
Yeah.
Quick story, like with Matt and I, when we first started talking, I would say probably maybe 2 months after we were friends. I think before we even told each other we liked each other, the Lord told me that he was my husband. But not obviously, I did not feel a release to say anything. And we were talking, and we eventually told each other we liked each other. We were talking, and I really thought we were going to get together at that time. But for some reason, the Lord was like, no, like you guys just have to be friends. Nothing bad happened. He just said that. And we didn't, I think it was 9 months where we were just strictly friends. And the Lord ended up, just speaking to us separately. And then we talked again, and now we're here. Now we're here. But in those 9 months, the Lord I felt like was doing things through us individually. And I feel like he was testing us to see if we would sacrifice the very thing that he gave us. Just like how, Abraham, he promised him, Isaac, the son, his son who was gonna make him father of many nations. But then, he told him to sacrifice him, and it's crazy. But Abraham had enough faith to say, we will go up to the mountains and worship and come back. So he knew somehow God was going to resurrect him anyways, even if he had to do it. But again, God was just testing to see if Abraham would give it up. I feel like in that moment, the Lord just wanted us to learn the lesson of what sacrifice meant. And I had to learn that in single phase, because I'm doing that now every day in marriage, having to sacrifice my desires, for what Matt needs and vice versa. So it may not look like that for you if you're single, but the Lord may be asking you to sacrifice this or sacrifice that, and look at it as training for when you get married. So if you're able to do that, then he's training you and strengthening you so that when you're able to get married, you already have built that skill and are in that routine of learning what sacrifice is, because that's what marriage is all about.
Yeah. And I think we left that off on a good note.
Couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah, I think that was a very great, glorious thought, and I feel blessed by that, and we hope that you guys were blessed too. And on that note, on giving some marriage advice and inspiration to those who may be single out there, our church, Life Church, is having a singles conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
This March, the 2nd and the 3rd. It's going to be called Brooklyn Love. And it's going to be featuring Carrington and Ashley Brown.
Also known as Ashley Empowers on Instagram.
Yes. And it's just going to be a great event where singles can just come together and receive.
Yeah.
And so this is for everyone out there who is not married.
Yes.
I don't care how long y'all been together. All right. If you're not married, come through. You're
It's
going
not a
to
mixer. It's not one of those like set them up kind of thing.
Exactly. We're not trying to do that. Although you may find your good thing
listen,
if you play your cards right.
Just saying.
Church
Come
of
through
Laugh.
smelling good, all right?
Church of Laugh will also be in the building.
Yes, they will. So it's just going to be an awesome, amazing time. Once again, it's going to be called Brooklyn Love on March 2nd and 3rd, 7 p.m. both nights. It's going to be in Brooklyn, 1387 East 96th Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11236. You can RSVP at lifechurchevents/ticketleap.com/Brooklyn-love.
That's a long URL.
You can also just go on nylifechurch.com.
You can RSVP by going
And,
on church.com.
RSVP there.
You can go there as well, or replay this podcast several times till you get it right.
Just keep going back.
But seriously, it's just going to be an awesome time. The married people of Life Church will be serving you guys. We just support you guys, and we hope to see you there.
Yes.
So that brings us to the end of our episode. Matt and Jan, why don't you guys tell them where they can find you guys?
Well, for Jan, Jan's not on site.
I'm really not on social media.
And you can't have her number. So,
what's your address?
right.
So-
Like, where you be
So, I mean,
So
if
just
you
hit me
want
up for Jan.
hit up Matt, hit up Neo or Sam.
Hit up any one
Good,
of
bad,
us.
glory email.
Right.
They'll relay the message to me.
On social media, it's Psalmist King everywhere. PSALMISTKING. What you know about me? No, just kidding. So it's Psalmist King everywhere. On
husband.
Instagram, Facebook / Psalmist King, Twitter, it's Psalmist King, YouTube. I would encourage you to check out.
Check it
the
out.
YouTube.
Yes, hear the music.
Yeah.
Subscribe. There are going to be some fun little thingies coming out there
We
soon.
actually did a Valentine's Day cover.
We
last year.
did.
Yes, y'all got to repost that.
A
I
medley.
actually should have
Share
reposted that already. So look for it. I should have reposted it already, but it will be out by the time this podcast comes out.
Yeah, with both Matt and Jan
Yes.
on there. Yes.
Check it out. Actually, it's really cool. We did a bunch of it's actually kind of like a little game. It's like a name that tune
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
It was 90s medley.
90s medley of a love song. So check it out. See if you can name all the songs. And it's on YouTube / Psalmist King.
Babe, why don't you tell them where they could find you?
Where can you find me? On Instagram, my handle is at nay.ohm. Is it 3 E's?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would know. 3 E's. So that's at nay.ohm 3 E's. Follow me on Facebook. I am Naomi Milord. You can add me there. And I really don't know what my Snapchat handle is. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably find my Snapchat somewhere on there.
Yes. And you guys know where to find me at Oh My Lord. That's OHMILORD. That's on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me at Proverbs Boy on Snapchat. That's PROVERBSBOY. Follow me. I love to make new friends. You can also see anything new I'm working at ohmylord.com. That's OHMILORD.com.
And if you guys enjoyed this episode and you guys want to hear more love tips or marriage tips, write in to the Good Bad Glory.
Right.
Sure.
Let us know. We will all definitely be open and willing to answering questions. We're all pretty transparent about a lot of different things. So, I mean, ask away. And we got answers for days. Well, the answers within the year and a half for days.
We have a year and a half worth of answers.
Right, a year and a half worth of answers, which are some pretty good answers.
Especially because we know what it is. We're here and we know, like, man, I wish someone had told me this.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Whether you're married or you're single. And just in general, just always write into us. We love to hear what you're thinking, what's on your mind. You can contact us, the podcast, at goodbadglory@gmail.com. That's goodbadglory@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at goodbadglory. Also, you can definitely get all our podcasts at goodbadglory.com. So be sure to check us out on there. And if you're loving what you're hearing, you've been feeling the podcast, I encourage you, seriously, you can just stop this podcast after I finish saying what I'm saying, of course, so you can hear it. But leave a rating and a review on iTunes. Hit subscribe. Hit the 5-star button. You're not allowed to click any of the other stars. Just the 5-star. And write a nice review about the wonderful, positive thoughts you have towards this podcast. So that's right. Stop. Do that right now. All right, and now press play. You're just going to know. You're just going to feel me saying it, even though it stopped right now.
By the Spirit.
Just by the Spirit. So that brings us to the end of our Valentine's Day episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. You had a good time. Tune in next week. We got something special planned for you guys for the next couple of weeks, but you're going to have to come back and find out what it is exactly.
Yeah.
And that is about it. So always remember, no matter what we talk about, whether it's good or bad, it's all for the glory. See you guys next week.
Later.
Bye, guys.